Tyler from Aspire Sports, and who are some of the top buy and sell players for week 8 of the fantasy football season. I'm going to give you players that you should be buying that will help you guide you to the fantasy football championship, and trade players away that just aren't going to cut it anymore. So I make new content like this every single day, so make sure you hit that subscribe button. And with that being said, let's get into the video. First person on the list, the first buy low for me is going to be Tyler Lockett. And you have a lot of fantasy managers right now that are panicking about Tyler Lockett because he's not producing with Geno Smith as a quarterback, which Geno Smith does not look good right now. Right now, he does not look good. But it's okay because Russell Wilson got the pin on his finger, and they're expecting them to be back on week 10 after this team's bye week. So that's good news for Tyler Lockett. And right now, there's a lot of people asking what to do with Tyler Lockett. Should they even drop him? Should they try to trade him away? And right now, I think this makes a great buy low opportunity for you to try to get Tyler Lockett on your team. This upcoming weekend, they get the Jacksonville Jaguars, which is a good matchup, and maybe he'll produce. If he doesn't, with Russell Wilson coming back, he's going to provide you with really good value heading down the stretch to make the fantasy football playoffs. So over the next 2 weeks, he's not really going to be playable, but if he were to have a good week next weekend, and then the fantasy managers get wind that Russell Wilson's going to be back, they're probably not going to trade him. So right now is probably your best opportunity to try to get Tyler Lockett. It's not that Tyler Lockett is a bad player or anything. He's actually a really good wide receiver, one of the better wide receivers in the NFL. It's just he's more of a boomer bust type of guy, and if you don't want it, totally understand. But with Russell Wilson coming back, he's a great buy low candidate right now. So go out and get Tyler Lockett. The next person on the list for me is going to be Antonio Gibson. And he's been on this list before, and he's an absolute sell. You need to try to sell him for whatever you can at this point. I know that he's got the injury. I know that he's not seeing receptions, so it's going to make a really tough sell. But I would take him and another piece and just try to get rid of him. Because Antonio Gibson, for me, I really don't see any difference between him and James Conner. Like, they're literally the same back. He doesn't play on third downs. He doesn't play in the 2-minute offense. This past weekend, his route participation went down to 21%, which is so low. You don't want any part of somebody like that in your PPR leagues. He's a first and second down thumper. That's what he is. And it's really unfortunate because there's a lot of talent, but with the injury and with this team obviously trusting J.D. McKissic, I think that we're a year or two early on Antonio Gibson breakout, where next year, if they don't re-sign J.D. McKissic, Antonio Gibson should be a really good player to draft next year. But right now, I would absolutely try to sell him. It's going to take an injury to J.D. McKissic. Once again, there's no difference between him and James Conner right now, except James Conner plays on a better offense. That's the only difference. So for me, Antonio Gibson, try to get rid of him any way that you can. You're going to have to probably take a piece and him to get rid of him, but you're going to feel so much better once he's off your team and allows somebody else to worry about him. So Antonio Gibson, for me, is the first sell. The next guy on the list is going to be Nick Chubb. And before I get into Nick Chubb, I just want to say that fantasy football is a game of stages. All right, so there's an early season stage, mid-season stage, late season stage when you want to start to trade for players with really good fantasy playoff schedules. But with Nick Chubb right now, towards the middle stage of the season, has a legitimate chance over the next 4 weeks to be RB1. RB1 without Kareem Hunt. I don't expect Kareem Hunt to be back until week 14 after this team's bye week. So over that span, I think that Nick Chubb from weeks 8 through 12 can be RB1. So for me, that is somebody that you definitely want to try to trade for right now, because I don't think that people are really estimating or really looking at Nick Chubb and thinking that right now. So I would definitely go out and try to get Nick Chubb right now for this stretch, because if you're a team right now that needs to win, or maybe you're a team that's winning, he's going to give you a lot of potential here for the upcoming week. So go out, try to get Nick Chubb. Don't be afraid to kind of overpay for him a little bit. That's totally okay. So go out, get Nick Chubb. The next player on the list is going to be Julio Jones, and for me, he's an absolute sell. He's been on this list before for the exact same reason, like sell. He wasn't somebody I was overly high on heading into the season because of, number one, his age. He was 32 years old on the back nine of his career. He's had decent amount of injuries throughout his career, especially last year where he didn't play a whole lot, which was a big concern of mine heading into this season. And then third, he just plays on a low volume passing attack where you have Derrick Henry as clearly the guy that you want in this offense. followed by A.J. Brown, who's now finally starting to pick it up. Julio Jones has no part in this offense. He's more of a lower-end wide receiver 3 for me. And if you were to drop him, I'm sure somebody would pick him up just because he's Julio Jones. So for that reason, it makes him not easy to trade, which is it's honestly going to be difficult to try to trade him. You're probably going to have to take him and another piece to try to get somebody, but I would definitely do that. Get him off of your team. He has that Julio Jones name that's valuable in fantasy football. People will hear that name and say, oh, maybe that guy will turn it around. So absolutely try to trade him right now. I would not want him on my team. Trade Julio Jones. The next guy on the list for me is going to be T. Higgins. Buy T. Higgins. And yes, you heard that correct. Buy him. And I know that Ja'Marr Chase right now looks like the true alpha wide receiver in this offense, which he's looked amazing so far this season. He really has. He's on pace to absolutely shatter records in the NFL. He's going to be a superstar for years to come. But T. Higgins is also an alpha wide receiver. T. Higgins this past weekend saw 15 targets, and he saw 3 red zone targets, 2 end zone targets as well. It's only a matter of time till he starts catching the ball a little bit more. Right now, he's catching the ball on like 41% of his targets, which isn't very good, but that's going to rise as the season continues. And once that rises, it's going to lead to more fantasy points. So I would absolutely try to go out and get T. Higgins right now. Once again, I know that Ja'Marr Chase is the alpha, but T. Higgins and him can coexist, kind of like DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett can go and coexist. You can have multiple wide receivers coexist on the same offense. So right now, T. Higgins hasn't really produced solid fantasy numbers since week 2. So the fantasy managers are definitely a little bit concerned about him right now. So go out and try to buy low on T. Higgins. The next guy on the list is going to be Mike Gesicki. And if I were to ask you this question, who would you rather have on your team? George Kittle or Mike Gesicki? The answer should be Mike Gesicki for the rest of the season. Because Mike Gesicki is an absolute stud. He is everything that you want George Kittle to be. Mike Gesicki is a top 3 tight end right now in fantasy football. So if you need some tight end help and you're looking at Mike Gesicki and the fantasy manager maybe has him and somebody else, go out and try to get Mike Gesicki. Him and Dalton Schultz are 2 guys at the tight end position that are not valued correctly by the fantasy football community that you need to go out and get that will be borderline top 5 tight ends for the rest of the season. So go out and buy Mike Gesicki and Dalton Schultz if you need some tight end help. The last guy on the list for me is going to be Michael Carter. And you want to buy Michael Carter right now. And he was on the list last week and I talked about him. But you saw that Tevin Coleman wasn't active in this game. I think it was due to injury though. But still going forward, Michael Carter is going to be not necessarily the guy. But him and Ty Johnson are definitely going to split this backfield with Michael Carter leading the backfield. We have now seen Michael Carter's snaps increase every single week. This week it was over 70%. Now you did have Ty Johnson end up leaving this game with a concussion. He ended up returning, got cleared. But still, Michael Carter is the guy that you want in this backfield. You had Zach Wilson also get hurt in this game, which obviously may sound like it's bad news for the whole Jets offense, which I don't really think it is because Mike White, specifically for Michael Carter, Mike White targeted the running backs on a ridiculous 40-some% rate. You also had this team just trade for Joe Flacco, who is the check down king. So you have 2 quarterbacks, I don't know which one's going to start, that are going to check the ball down to the running back. So expect Michael Carter to really be involved once again in the passing game. And once again, remember, your receptions are much more valuable in your PPR leagues than the rushing attempts. Michael Carter is a really solid PPR running back this upcoming weekend against the Cincinnati Bengals. If you need a running back that's not going to be really that expensive to get, go out and try to get Michael Carter. He has a lot of value as the season progresses and he gets more and more usage. So that does it. If you like this content, make sure you smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching and have a great day.